a fantastic screening of Witness Underground. We do have Scott Homan, the director, here with us. We're lucky to have him. So Scott, tell us, what is your relationship with Jehovah's Witnesses? Is this something that you have experience with, or is this just a topic that fascinated you?
In short, my dad joined it when I was young. Okay. So I kind of grew up around it, not really all the way in it, because my mom never joined it. It was sort of like, if you're all the way in it, like these people were all the way in since they were kids, where I sort of had this like light version of the experience. And I have a story I wanted to tell, but I thought that like their story is so similar to mine, and especially Ryan's and Eric's, but I thought their story was so much more impressive, partially because they had this archive of content, and I didn't really want to be in a documentary about myself. A lot of people do that, and I don't think they work really well. So this is a really cool way to show, tell my story, but it's much more intense from their experience.
What I love about this documentary is that it just goes to show you that people, no matter where they're from, just want to express themselves creatively in some way, shape, or form. And when you stifle that, it's going to come out somehow, some way. And it was really fascinating to see their stories. Was there anyone that you tried to interview that you couldn't interview? Or that was unable to be reached? Or that were in the group?
Yes, actually. The songwriting partner with Cindy and Chloe, the drummer, his name's it's Ryan, the main character, his younger brother, and the sister, also the guitarist, and Chloe, or the bassist and Chloe. Those two are both still in religion, and then their partners are also still in religion, and their partners are also musicians. There's a few other people that are, even people that have left are like, oh, this is like way too triggering. Like I don't want to be in a piece of media about that. I don't want to be like famous because of this topic. They want to like leave it in their past or whatever. So there's quite a few people I would love to have filmed with, or like would love to film with in the future, because it'd be great to have this like a real Jehovah's Witness perspective. And there's some great documentaries about other religious cults that they get the insider perspective as well. And we just weren't able to do that, but in a sense, like they all had been witnesses and then all are ex-witnesses. So we kind of get both experiences through them. But I think it would be stronger, a sequel or like something on the same topic would be really strong if you had an insider's perspective, which I didn't get and I couldn't get. I reached out to so many people.
Sure. Ryan was a great subject to interview. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of meeting up with him and getting him to be part of the film? Because he kind of anchors the film as far as his experiences.
Yeah, Ryan's interesting because when I moved to Minneapolis, I'd left the religion and I kind of came back, but I was like, oh, I'm going to do it on my own terms. And I met all these artists, and I was like, well, they're the coolest people I've ever met in this faith, so I can hang with them and like go to their shows, and I was in bands as well. But Ryan had just I'm in one of the photos from October Ridge. I didn't know that. Like some guy I'd never met sent me a bunch of photos from him, but I didn't even remember necessarily that experience. But Ryan left he left his faith like right after that. But I never met him. So when I learned of his existence in Minneapolis, he was already the poster child for everything you should never do. He was like the ultimate apostate. And so I met him during the interview. Like he flew to Denver, where I used to live, and filmed his interview. And it was just sort of like we were having an email correspondence. Like, I know you exist, and I know you have a crazy story. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to record it and do an interview. And so he was talking to me on the way into my apartment where we filmed it. And I was like, just don't tell me anything. I'm gonna meet you on camera. So when the camera's rolling and sound's rolling, then I'm gonna meet you. So like everything you see from him is the first time we ever talked in our lives, or first time we talked like in person.
Do you recommend that as far as like an interview style?
This is my first film, so you tell me if it works.
So this is your first. Is this your first? Have you done any documentary shorts or anything like that?
I've dabbled and like worked with other crews on documentaries.
Mm-hmm.
But this is my first one I've directed and like took full control of.
How stressful was that?
I mean, it's the most exciting thing I've ever done in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fantastic documentary. I mean, it's very compelling from start to finish. So I think you did a great job. The music shoot that we kind of keep cutting to, was that your idea? Was that something you wanted to tie the movie together with? And how easy or difficult was that to put together?
It's a bit like herding cats. All these artists are like, oh man, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to talk about that topic, but they're friends of mine that I've kept in touch with for years, and rekindled a relationship with film. But yeah, that was definitely my idea. I didn't necessarily, I thought about bookending it like we ended up doing, and I was hoping to almost just like never show the space until the very end where you see this song. But I kind of like how it ended up. We had like the opening central like transition moment in time from the old days to the new days with that scene, and then finishing with the really strong song I love. Yeah, that was my idea to like kind of create cohesion through the film. What's also interesting is we've got a live performance coming up at another film festival.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking about recutting the end to this huge live event that's going to be at this venue.
Oh, wow.
So I might have another. It'll be just like the last 5 minutes of recut, but I'm excited to kind of show off in that way to make it a stronger finish.
Very cool. What is the Jehovah's Witness or ex-Witness music scene like today, like in 2020, 2021?
I'm probably the most connected person to all these artists that are these artists, but also there's a lot of California artists, and there's some in Australia and some European ones that have reached out to me through the making of this. And I have like a side project that's related called XJW Coming Out on YouTube. But so people have been like reaching out, and I've been filming with them. But so it's all over the place, music of all genres. But most of this was the most unique scene because it was sort of all in one city, and there's about 17 bands, all contemporary with each other for like 17 years. And they recorded like over 30 albums in that scene. But like
wow.
Around the rest of the world, and this religion isn't like, it's in, they say 214 lands, but they're like in half the planet basically, anywhere Christianity's strong essentially. But there's music all over. There's got a metalhead out of Nigeria. There's some like new metal band out of Australia. There's a bunch of, especially in the XJW world, there's some interesting stuff. A lot of them aren't making music on the topic of the religion, but they're just making music. Right. They're like identify with themselves as like former religious people, XJWs.
Now, kind of tying into GenreBlast, and I did see they were kind of making music videos and short films. Are there ex-witnesses that are independent filmmakers, like yourself? I know you said it was more your father, but any filmmakers kind of along the lines of the musicians here?
I've been discovering a lot of that more recently. Like this stuff is very DIY and with zero budget, but like Richard Linklater's films, Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, that was written by an ex-Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
After she left religion. I just read that on like the writer's podcast, which I didn't even know that until like.
I didn't either, no.
One of the guys who writes for Star Wars, Clone Wars, he's an ex-Jehovah's Witness. The Minimalist documentary came out 10 years ago. The guy who's in that and wrote it, he's an ex-Jehovah's Witness. So I've got quite a few people in the industry, but they're not like advertising that.
Right.
Or Childish Gambino is an ex-Jehovah's Witness, and he does a lot of media.
Mm-hmm.
There's quite a few that are pretty big. They're just not really marketing that.
They're just happy to be out there and creating, you know. And you did mention that some people were reaching out to you while you're making the film. Was this something that you wanted to do to get people to reach out to you and say, you know, we can do this? Or did you want to kind of do it in secret and then kind of have people see it once it was released?
Originally, I did a crowdfund and kind of marketed like, hey, we're looking for collaborators and hoping that people would reach out and want to make something with me. And I did work with some former witnesses. That was totally, like, didn't work. A lot of people that reached out kind of wanted to use this project as like a therapy thing. Like 1 year out of the religion, and they're not in the industry and don't know what they're doing. So that ended up like failing in a big way. So I kind of took it on my own to just like, you know what, I just need to tell the story the way I think it needs to be told. And then hopefully there'll be some future collaborative thing that we do. That would be, I hope that would happen someday.
It's exciting. And you said that there's going to be a concert. Are they all performing kind of in a live venue? Is that going to be like a tour thing or a one-off kind of thing?
It's a one-off in Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a dream come true. It's called Sound Unseen.
Mm-hmm.
Although we're not supposed to advertise that. But they asked all the artists if they asked like 6 months in advance, like, can all the artists perform live, and could we help arrange that?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be this big celebration there where they screen the film and then have a live performance right after for like 2 or 3 hours.
That's
It's
fantastic.
very exciting. It's a one-off, but I hope it kind of rekindles their careers. I know it will for Ryan because he's got like a whole backing band now for it, which is pretty exciting. Him and Eric are in a band together, and they like just decided to spin the band into like Ryan's frontman for it. You saw them for like a brief second where it's called Awkward Bodies. There's like one transition scene where Ryan's band is playing, but it's those same guys that are going to play live with Ryan's music.
Very cool. Now that you have a feature documentary under your belt, do you want to keep doing documentaries? Do you want to try narrative features? What's in your mind right now?
I do want to do more documentaries. I'm not sure if I want to do. I would do more on this space, like with the other side project I've got. I'd like to build that into something. But I've got an idea for basically women rock climbing dirt bags. Where
Wow.
There's a lot of people that live out of their car and rock climb all the time, and I'm in that world. I rock climb a lot, and I have a really good friend who has been on the road for a year, living out of her car, rock climbing, meeting people in the desert or at rocks and crags.
That sounds actually really, really interesting. I would love to see that, absolutely.
Another one I want to explore is indigenous hip hop, and I'd like to work on that, not necessarily alone. It's just like that would be like a whole community. But there's a lot of indigenous hip hop that I think is amazing. They have a strong message, but they're not really mainstream. So I kind of want to explore that and maybe help elevate the scene in some way.
That's exciting. So I hope we see both of those. I would really love to. Does anyone have any questions for Scott or Witness Underground at all?
First off, I wanted to say that was amazingly powerful. And you could see, especially in Ryan's face, the amount of emotion that he felt just coming out to his father. Have any of the people that you interviewed come out to you and said that this almost felt like a final way to come out, like there was actually a finality to everything, that they've now had it documented, rather than just being a personal relationship thing?
I'm not sure I quite got the question, sorry.
Oh.
Could you make it?
Like, he made a personal admission to his father that he wanted to leave the religion, but did any of people interviewed kind of say that this was like a public, and how they felt about it?
I think this is the first time that they were speaking publicly about being an ex-witness.
Yeah, so this hasn't screened very many places, or at all, really. This is the world premiere, so not very many people have seen it, but everyone in the film is very sensitive to how their family and friends might react. I think that's going to be a big deal, especially in Minnesota, because there's 70 artists shown in this thing, and fans that are all half of them are still in the faith. They're not going to be thrilled about it. I half expect, maybe the dream come true if the religion sued me, because that would be really good publicity. But yeah, this is a very public-facing thing that I think it's going to have a big effect for many years to come.
Any other questions for Scott?
Yes.
Is there a soundtrack album in the works?
I'm so glad you asked.
Good question.
Yeah. And where can I pre-order?
So we have a band camp with 15 albums on it from a lot of artists that you can just go, and it's all free and you can download it if you want to. I think it's a Nuclear Gopher Vault if you search on Bandcamp. But I also have brought four EPs left over there. They're 5-song samplers you can grab if you have who here has a CD player? Raise of hands. Okay. All right, there's about enough CDs for most of you. So.
I get one ask question.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we're actually looking into getting an LP press.
Ooh, yes.
You can buy, that's vinyl, and we'll have for the Minnesota showing, and then hopefully you can just buy it online. Which this soundtrack was maybe the key thing that I did that turned this into, that really brought the story together emotionally. I spent a couple bottles of bourbon in a month and a half listening to hundreds of songs and putting it together. But yeah, hopefully you can buy that album. It's 43 songs I think that are in this.
Nice.
That's
And
amazing.
is the vinyl going to be on the same Bandcamp page, or is that going to be something connected to the movie?
It'll be on the website, witnessunderground.com.
Okay.
But yeah, Ryan's working on the website's there, so you can already get some music and it'll be there for sure. Because it's really, Ryan wants to turn that space we actually gutted for the shoot. That his dream is to turn that into his super studio to reinvent Nuclear Gopher as a production studio where he produces bands, not just for his own music. So he wants to do new things, not just nostalgia pieces like this. So he's going to be pushing Nuclear Gopher Productions or Nuclear Gopher Studios or whatever he's going to call it, as a legit record studio for a 90s style. They're going to produce merch and stuff like that as well as produce art.
Another question was over here somewhere. Yes.
I just want to first commend you for, as a first-time feature, really unreal. Truly a magnificent piece of work. Very, very proud of yourself, truly.
Thank you.
And what was the other thing I was going to say? You should also check out this film called Atonement, if you haven't. It's about Jehovah's Witnesses. Very interesting film.
What's it called?
I think it's called Atonement. I was just looking.
Atonement?
Yeah, I was looking for it on my letterbox, and I couldn't find it. I'll get with you and find the exact title. The last thing, my actual question is, well, I really, really love the use of B-roll and the way that it shows these. They're almost like video portraits, like snippets of B-roll of the people. I mean, it's like it's not like I've seen a number of documentaries, but what was the process for you coming up with the right moments or the idea as a first-time filmmaker to juxtapose those moments to sort of elicit whatever you were trying to go for together?
The question is about choosing the B-roll and how that process went, and like creating character vignettes for everyone from that. So the real gift with this project was that it's Ryan's story. So, and he's been like at the forefront of kind of promoting art in that community. And so he had this like backlog of stuff. He has a walk-in closet filled with records and CDs and original 4 and 8-track cassette tapes and art and posters that they made for years. And when I talked to him about it after our interview, he just gave me a Google Drive link to like 200 gigabytes of videos of music. And so I hired a story editor, and she slogged through a lot of it, and I wasn't happy with her selections totally. So I went back and watched everything, and when I did the soundtrack, I also went back and like put way too much B-roll in, and she slimmed it down, and we just like iterated a lot on that. And I wanted more of the darker, fun, ridiculous stuff. She did too, but we went back and forth a lot on that. But yeah, I appreciate you commending what you saw, because it was a really long process, and I think it was a lot of fun to show off kind of all their weird, campy, C-rate art that they made.
I could watch a whole documentary on just that stuff. That would be so cool.
There's like 40 or 50 short films that they made, or trailers to films that don't exist that
Wow.
they made ever. They just did this for like 15 years or something. It's crazy.
Wow, that's so cool. Any other questions for Scott?
Yo,
Yes.
outside of the Bandcamp, or like any of these artists like streaming on like Apple Music or Spotify now?
Yes, Ryan Sutter Music, or Ryan Sutter on Spotify. He might be on other platforms as well. High TV, which are an amazing band that we see a lot of. They're on Bandcamp, and they've both done RPM records. RPM's like a February, make an album in a month kind of free space. You can like go down there, download their music there. Chloe's stuff is out on the Bandcamp. There's like Chad, the bassist. His stuff is Ghost Army, their band. He's the bassist in that band. Their stuff's on all those platforms. Awkward Bodies is out if you want to listen to them. That's Ryan and Eric's present band. That's the ones that come to mind at the moment. Day Trip is an incredible band if you want to check them out. Their features kind of like a highlight of the old world, where Eric and Chad are in that band, and their stuff's out. Like their original album is out. It's really good.
Awesome. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for coming out. This was a fantastic screening. It was just a wonderful documentary. Thank you for coming and bringing it. All right, everybody. We have a really fun panel at 2:45.